parental queens? Welcome to Baget, the home of family creativity. My name is Cedrica Baggett, and I help moms build unbreakable bonds with their teens through cooking. Now, let's go on to today's episode. Of course, I feel like it's been forever since this last week has passed. I feel like I haven't done an episode in a while, but that's because I had to catch up on some sleep, y'all, for real. But anyway, let's get into it. My favorite part of the show, which y'all know, motivational moment. And every part of the show is my favorite part of the show. So, what is today's quote? Listen up, girl. Today's quote is, there will be so many times you feel like you failed, but in the eyes, heart, and mind of your child, you are super mom. Guess what? So that means you need to lead by example. Being a super mom, we do it all. We work, we cook, we clean, we prepare them for whatever day they have hit. I mean, everybody's at home mostly, so but it's easier now than having to get them up every day. But we do everything, all right? Even though we work full-time jobs, have businesses, have our dream careers, we still have to do everything. We have to hold it down, hold down the household, y'all. Hold it down. So you have to remember, okay, that there will be so many times you feel like you failed, which I don't believe. Failure is a thing. We learn because failure happens. That's going to happen. That's part of the process of being successful in anything you do. As long as you get back up on your feet, learn from that lesson and do it better the next time and keep consistency going with that so you can be better and better each time. So remember, ladies, I'm going to say this again. There will be so many times you feel like you failed, but in the eyes, heart, and mind of your child, you are super mom. So let's get it together, girl. You super mom, get it done, do what you got to do. Be an example, be a positive example for your kids, and just go through, take every day one step at a time, because I know, for real, I know as having teenagers, having children in general can be a challenge as they grow and they become their own selves. They're having their own personalities. I know, trust me, my daughter will be 16 next week. And Lord Jesus, when I think about it, I'm like, first thing I say is, man, she old, because I still say I'm young out here. But because when she gets a certain age, how old I'm be, I always say, well, I'm going to still look the same. And that's what matters. Nothing else matters. I'm going to still look the same. So just make sure y'all, every day y'all get up with the intention to be the best parent you can be. No parent is perfect. Nobody is perfect, but get up with the intention to be a great parent. Okay. So now let's go into our next thing of the day, which of course is my other favorite topic of the day, the fun food fact, y'all, which is today's fun food fact is limes. Okay. So limes, due to the pleasant aroma of limes, the fruit's zest or juice is commonly used in mixtures for its smell, and the juice is commonly used to flavor beverages or condiments, while the zest provides flavor to other dishes high in vitamin C. Okay, so remember that. For me, I like limes in, of course, a lot of Mexican dishes, of course, and making different sauces. So limes is very good. It also has a good source of vitamin C, and it's just a very healthy. It doesn't have as much vitamin C as lemons do, but it's still a good source to use in your food for sauces that you make, for flavor, my favorite Mexican food is tacos. Like Taco Tuesday. I missed yesterday's Taco Tuesday, so I got to catch up this week. So Taco Tuesday is like, tacos is like, I got to have it at least once a week. I got to have it. And then squeezing some lime juice up in there is really good. It brings out the flavor in your seasoning and everything like that. So remember that, girl. Limes, they have a pleasant aroma, and the fruit zest or juice is commonly used in mixtures for its smell, and the juice is commonly used to flavor beverages or condiments, while the zest provides flavor to the other dishes, and it is high in vitamin C. Okay, girl, I'm all about some healthy stuff. You know that, even though I go off the wagon sometimes and go unhealthy, but that's okay. I catch up. So remember that, y'all. And so, of course, that's my next favorite part of the show. And before I move on, let me let you guys know to give you an update. I know I haven't been showing any recipes the last few episodes, but that's because I'm doing this whole new revamp on my blog, and I want to make sure I give you guys value and quality in my blog. And updating it is taking longer than usual, but that's okay because value is important. But you can always go and look at the recipes that's already there. I have plenty of recipes already there that you guys can use and make it happen. Get in the kitchen, cook it up, get the kids involved, have them do the seasoning. I have my daughter cut up onions because I don't like cutting up onions. Use them, it's good to use them for stuff like that because I don't like getting teary-eyed with the onions. So I have her do it. I talk her into it sometimes, even though sometimes she don't want to do it, but eventually she does it. And so her favorite thing is baking. So I have to have fun with that with her during the baking process. And with the cooking process, she's learning slowly how to do the flavor and seasoning. I tell her what to use and stuff like that and how much. And she's getting better as she gets older. I mean, she's about to be 16, so it's time, you got to have this life skill. Our kids have to have this life skill, cooking, y'all. So remember, you guys can go to the blog and anytime to get those recipes and cook them in your kitchen, get the kids involved and have a good family meal. Okay, y'all? So now let me go on into the best part of tonight's show, which every part of the show is my favorite part, of course, y'all. So tonight's guest, her name is Jessica Russell. She's a best-selling author. She also educates people on wellness and mindfulness, coaching on business, family relationships, and entrepreneurship, okay? And of course, she is a mom. She is another parental queen. So please help me welcome Jessica Russell.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. What a welcome.
No, thank you. I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you. When we talk about your daughter, I'm thinking she's like a little girl. Now I know she's.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Mama. She's a woman. Yeah, she's
5-month-old baby girl. Yeah.
Well, it's really nice to be here. I've been looking forward to this, and it's always to talk with other moms.
Yes, it is. So you go ahead and just reintroduce yourself and tell us about you.
Sure. Well, I live in Los Angeles, California. So, we've been going through obviously interesting times and things are starting to loosen for us here in California. But, we've been hanging around the house. A lot of businesses turn to home businesses, which, that's a whole different story, but that's a form of entrepreneurism that so many people didn't even understand that they had it in them. So that's kind of exciting. You and I were talking about this a little bit before. Yeah. And so I actually, starting in my 20s, never worked for anyone. I've always actually started my own businesses and companies. And I'm third generation in the real estate business in regards to like joint ventures, financing, and stuff like that. And so I actually achieved early success before my 30s. And sometimes, when you do that, it's a little bit too young because you don't really realize what you fall into. And living in Los Angeles, you're not that far. It's got this strong entrepreneur spirit. And so I was able in Los Angeles to work with a lot of wealthy people, and I kind of followed them. They would invite me into ventures, and it's like, okay, we'll try it, because I was so young. But it became a mindset with me. And, I went to school, I studied business. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if anybody can see, but I'm in my early 50s. I look a lot younger, but I'm in my early 50s. I have 2 boys, and they're, one is 11 and the other one is going to be 12. Wait, oh my God. Wait, 12?
It's normal.
10, 10's going to be 11. I'm still in the macaroni and cheese and chicken nugget stage. I always thought I would get out of that a lot earlier, but my boys are 17 months apart. So ironically, the youngest one's going to have a birthday next week. And, that changes the whole mindset because I'm kind of in that alone because I should have kids in college or maybe, children who have a family. And, it's been quite a journey, but what happened as I got older, I started to not so much get burnt out in sense of, I didn't have energy and the motivation to do things. I was just getting frustrated at people. And then,
Mhm.
of course, as you get older, things happen. I went through a very long illness with my mom who had lung cancer that spread to the brain. And at that time, I'm like, you know what? I wasn't married. I didn't have any children. Ironically, I ended up getting pregnant with my first son, and it was just such a blessing because I was in my early 40s,
Oh wow.
and yeah, well, this is how it goes. So I wanted to like calm down because when you do business, even where you are in the
Right.
city part, it's really fast.
Mhm.
And I had always worked in consulting,
Mhm.
sales, business development. I always implemented coaching. I hold a lot of secrets, and I furthered my education and I got involved with therapy. I'm also a CHT, which is the highest educated level of a hypnotherapist, which also
Okay.
has a lot of misconceptions, and a health coach. So I always seem to combine that together. And so I can go on and on. But
Yeah.
I have so many diverse interests. And that's because I'm an entrepreneur. And a lot of people say to me, well, is it that you don't know what to do or you get bored? Sometimes I may get bored, but it's like, it's not that I don't know what to do. It's just, I grew up just so multifaceted, and I have, I'm very inquisitive.
Right.
Sorry, inquisitive. And I also teach my boys how to cook
Yeah, that's
because,
good. That's important.
yeah, well, they need to know because then, they don't have the attitude like it's only our job as a
Right.
woman, you know.
When they go to college and they're like, "Oh, what am I gonna eat?" They don't want to be wasting their money on fast food all the time, so they want to have some type of basic skills in cooking.
Yeah, yeah. And unfortunately, I'm fairly healthy, but I've dealt with some health circumstances, and being older and having two fairly young children,
Mm.
they see what you go through. They hear things, and so I've been very honest with them, and I try to teach them along the way. And because of my education and my practice and everything, I'm able to teach them things that sometimes a lot of people really just don't understand, and most of the time I don't think they care. But I try to do my best. But I think when I was listening to what you were saying, it's definitely true. I focus with my businesses, even with business professionals, when I'm coaching them or I'm working with them on a different type of a level, um, more in relation to how the mind affects the body.
Mhm.
And if your body is not well, or there's something that's not right, then it's going to affect your mind, which in turn affects how you do things, your productivity. And, obviously, it could create, if you don't take care of yourself to a certain degree, mental illness, just confusion, lack of clarity, and I can go on and on. So, um, I think a lot of people are at this point where they're starting to become more and more interested in that.
Right.
And you're hearing it more and more out in the public where people are kind of, realizing, there's more information and I got to take care of myself.
Right. So can you tell me more about you coaching people about family relationships?
Yeah. Well, I do therapy, and I do also therapy in which I was explaining
Hmm.
a couple minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes
Right.
ago. And when it comes to family relationships, I think there's certain strategies that unfortunately a lot of people don't understand unless they're reading books or they're studying or it's their profession. And it's getting very, very difficult for people to communicate with each other because they're not growing up with the tools.
Hmm.
And, it always starts from home.
Right.
Um, in the mental health industry and in the coaching industry, there's a couple of I guess sayings, and it's just another messed up person attracts another messed up person, and then they have a family,
Hmm.
and it's a circle that is very difficult to find some kind of a door to get out of, and it takes a lot of effort, and it can definitely be done, but what happens is we learn from our parents, or we learn from the people, if somebody doesn't have a mother, maybe a grandmother, an aunt, or someone who's the dominant force in the family. And especially women, moms, if they have a father around or lack of, they seem to gravitate and pull information from the male model figure. And so what happens is, if we don't have that, then we do lean into mother, but we also tend to go out into the street, and it starts developing in the relationships that we have, because we're missing information. We're craving things, and we're craving information that we need to get from, boys or a man. And
Right.
so we're lacking a lot of tools that should be natural, but that's because, especially in America, the family unit is fairly broken. And
Hmm.
so the biggest part of so many things in life is communication. When we don't have a sense of who we are, then it's very difficult to be able to understand who somebody else is by
Hmm.
just casual conversation. Definitely, in a serious relationship and dating. And then today, with technology, it makes it a lot easier, a lot difficult, because technology makes it easier to avoid closeness
Right.
and
Right.
relationship. And so then again, it continues even more so to hurt communicating with one another.
And so, how does that affect like generations going down the line?
Well, it's really harmful. Okay, so we can kind of go backwards a little bit, because I
Mhm.
mentioned earlier, I'm in my 50s. So in the 50 and the 40 generation, we had a breakdown in your traditional family. There were more families at that time, but people started, my mother's generation started to get very comfortable, and the family was breaking in divorce. And so prior to her generation, it was happening a little bit less. And then definitely as you get older, it was happening less and less. Today, it's a little bit more common. So what happened is like around um, my generation, uh, believe it or not, a lot of it has to do with the economy or the
Mhm.
financial structure within the home. And so when I was in my 20s, for example, so that's like 30 years ago, the economy for the most part was very strong. Business was easier to make money, and so therefore the family unit was a little bit more happier. But we had access to a lot of things, even if it was superficial, and communicating was still very strong because we had the means to really do so. We didn't really have cell phones. If you were wealthy or you were in a specific business that you really needed to have a cell phone, they were basically the size of a suitcase, and they were really heavy. Remember? So you're still younger than me. But you had to have a lot of money to buy one of those phones. It wasn't like it is today where you get unlimited service. So um, what happened now is that now, because I'm 50, so traditionally I would have children that, are finishing college, or maybe, having a young family. So that generation of adults
Mhm.
were the ones who started to have problems, because when I was, say, in my 30s and in the 40s, business started to become difficult. The economy started to change. We had a little bit roller coaster of recession and all of that. And so, depending on, what kind of a home life or family you've had, or somebody has had, they may have changed their career. They may have had hardships. When people start having hardships, and this is, without any shame or blame, especially with mothers. The mothers end up having to lovingly gets stuck with the kids most of the
Right.
time. And we have to push things to the side. Maybe they have to stay home by themselves and kind of raise themselves because, hopefully, but unfortunately, we have to work.
Right.
So that's where the situation starts to change, because when the families start having hardships, or it's a single family, mom has to work, dad is out of the picture or not there that much, he's not really providing needs, finances, and so forth. Everything is basically back to mom. And so the kids are left at home trying to fend for themselves. They're learning how to cook. It doesn't matter what age they are. There's kids that are unfortunately 6 years old that are home by themselves now,
Mm.
and they were back then, and they're growing up in their tweens and teens trying to figure this out while their parent or parents are working out of
Right.
the house. Now obviously there's someone usually around, but when this happens, this is where the breakdown in communication starts. Now we have cell phones and
Mhm.
we have other means of technology, but you would think that would make things better, but it's all about an email or texting. And
Right.
so it really affects them because they don't really understand how to write. Their articulation changes. And on top of that, they don't fine tune their motor skills as much as someone who would fend and have to depend on the brain would
Mhm.
have to. And they don't know how to communicate because everything is in short sentences. You know, most people under the age of maybe 30 don't even know how to handwrite.
Hmm.
They're writing, by printing. They they
Right.
they don't understand, the other type of writing. They can barely read it. And that's because the curriculum doesn't call for them to understand that. But
Right.
even with my boys, and then in the 20 somethings, people are building relationships which are really not real relationships.
Mhm.
They're false relationships, with insinuations, and with them assuming that is something more that it's not because of the texting.
Right.
Did that make sense?
That makes sense. It's
Yeah.
interesting. What stood out to me was like, because I never thought about it this way. The economy, our surroundings affects our mindset, which changes the way we raise our children, and how we deal with certain situations. I guess you could say, and the changes we have to go through, it affects us mentally, which affects our parenting in a way. And that can
Oh,
also,
absolutely.
yeah, that can also go down to like our children and the way they communicate with us and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And, like most of us right now, and especially if you have kids, um, the moms,
Mm.
we're very stressed out. I mean,
Right.
we're just so overloaded. And so, um, what happens is if you catch me at the wrong moment, or if you're trying to talk to me, you see me on the street, and I look at you differently, it could be because I have a thought that's going on in my head at that moment,
Mhm.
and I look at you wrong, and you're like, what a b.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I could scare someone because they're afraid because I gave them a dirty look, or I was in my own head thinking of something, and they just happened to talk to me. Or, to make it more complicated, but it's the truth, it's how we interpret things because of the tone in our voice. We can make any sentence that we want sound different
Yep.
depending on how we phrase it. And so when we talk with other people, we have to kind of step back, and we have to
Hmm.
step back out of that circle and take a deep breath before we start communicating, especially strangers. And this is how we really um, struggle to make friendships.
Right.
If I talk as much as I'm talking on your podcast in the first couple minutes,
Hmm.
I may overload someone, or they just may not be interested in even talking to me or becoming friends because it's just a bop, 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 And it's assumptions and perceptions of what that person is, because we've become not very tolerant of people, and we don't have the same what is the word? We don't have the patience
Okay, yeah,
anymore.
I can agree with that one.
Yeah. But when
In
it comes, go ahead, I'm sorry.
the military, when I'm at work, I'm a whole nother person. I'm literally, because some people say I have the resting bee face.
Yeah, well, here you go.
I got to deal with people all the time, and I'm a lot of times they'll get the face like, "Why are you here?" And
Yeah.
they just catch me in that moment, but it's not directly towards them. It's just me where I'm at, and it's just that moment of where. And then when I'm home, it's totally different. I'm this whole nother person when I'm at home. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
people at work don't know me outside of work.
Yeah. But you have to also be careful, and people who are playing different mental roles
Hmm.
to also be careful, because what you're doing is it's a little bit harder on your body and emotionally, because you may have that conflict because you have a certain way that you're expected to act. And to be a woman in the service, it's a lot of pressure because it's still male dominant. But
Right.
you got to deal with so much nonsense from the men. But it's like, oh, I have so much respect for you in so many ways. But then you come home and you want to be a woman. You want to be, more, in tune with yourself, or just to be able to relax. And so it's almost, and I don't mean this with any disrespect, but you're kind of battling against a fake person, because you have to act one way
Yeah.
here and then you act another way there, and then you play the mommy role
Right.
and you got to act another way, and it's very, very hard to juggle. But what people don't realize is it's a toll on the body. And
Hmm.
that's, stress, anxiety, and depression are all different.
Uh-huh.
But anxiety can lead to depression. Stress, usually we can kind of somehow, if you understand yourself, let a lot of it go. But it's the depression and the anxiety and the depression that we have to watch out for, because that's the mental
Right.
state that starts to change. And then PTSD and all of that stuff is very real. And so when you go now into a little bit more of a spiritual
Hmm.
aspect, when with what you do with the cooking and trying to project yourself out there and teach people a little bit more about health and healthy.
Hmm.
Most of us don't grow up understanding, but um, healthy foods, vegetables,
Hmm.
to a degree, fruit, but fruit naturally has a lot of sugar,
Right.
different type of sugar. It's really a medicine. And so each thing does different things, and even some meat.
Hmm.
But we don't understand unless we really research and study it, because
Right.
we only usually hear negative, or go have a salad. Okay, but if you're going to dump bad oils on
Yeah.
your salad or buy most of the dressings, well, you might as well just have the worst fatty food. It's the
Right.
same, you know what I mean? And this takes a toll on the body. So it's just in my education and in the world of health and health coaching, dietitian and nutritionist, so forth, we learned that there's actually two types of food.
Hmm.
There's primary food and secondary food. But most people would think primary food is the food that we eat, we put in our mouth. It's not. It's our mental state, it's joy, it's our spirituality, it's our finances, it's home cooking. It's like 12 different types of being. And
Hmm.
then the secondary is actually the food that we eat. And
Yeah.
so it all has to work together. And so to an average person, if they're just living day to day, they may not have time to really understand this, but
Doesn't make
it's
sense for
so
the normal person because it's like what you put up here, it'll affect what you put in your body as far as food. If you're
absolute.
strong here, then what you put in your body will matter more to you than the average person.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When I was younger, I could eat everything and anything, really until I was in my early 40s. And, never gained weight, never got fat. I'll tell you honestly, in the last few years, I started having health problems because of specific reasons, but I don't eat as well as I should. I eat healthy, but I don't eat 3 or 4 meals. I struggle with that. And so what happens is the joke of it is, and I get a lot of flack for it, but medical professions understand this. My metabolism shut down. And
Mhm.
so, you know, you have to intake good food, but when my mama would make me lasagna, and I'm American, but it's like my father had Italian in him, and he would always cook Italian food. When the parents divorced, okay, that was the end of that. But my mom would make it. I was a big pasta eater. We would eat a lot of carbs, and when mom didn't have any money, we would eat the packaged, stuff, macaroni, whatever. Big Macs were like probably 50 cents at that time. So it's like, why don't we eat two? And, we didn't learn
Mhm.
what we easily have access to now, but it really does affect our body. And so when you don't eat enough or eat enough of the good foods, it definitely breaks down the body as you get older.
Right.
And, I learned some hard lessons, let me tell you. It's like I have to stop thinking about other people. And this is what moms have a tendency of not doing. You have to think of yourself
Yep.
instead of thinking of everybody first.
Yep.
Because you
For
can't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of anybody.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, but we shouldn't be taking care of everybody. We should be taking care of ourselves and most likely let everyone else take care of themselves. But
Yeah.
that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, it also reminds me of what you were saying before. As moms, we like with old school parents, and that comes down to the moms, their children, their moms, and they hold on to those habits of their mother and bring it to the habits when they're raising kids, and that could go down generations. And so, for some moms, it's hard to turn off that old school way of what their moms used to do, feeding them this type of food, the bad food and stuff like that, to switch it over
Absolutely.
learning because a lot of moms don't know. They don't know to like educate themselves and better ways for their kids to eat and stuff like that. So it's a generation thing. It goes down until somebody breaks it and
Yeah.
change that cycle of parenting and healthy eating in the family and for your kids and everything like that. So that is very important. 'Cause
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
I always say for moms to be realistic, you have to be realistic with kids. You can't live in la la land like unfortunately a lot of old school parents have done. Live in la la land,
Yeah. Well,
kids perfect or anything like that.
yeah, I will tell you, and this is really important, and I try to sneak this in as much as I can. Especially in America or in the big cities, um, sometimes on a Saturday, you'll have a parent who takes, the child will eat their sugar-based cereal in the morning for breakfast.
Mhm.
And they're watching TV most likely, so it's like they're not paying attention how much they're eating, but they'll have 2 bowls of sugar. I mean, you might as well just take the white sugar out and just eat it, which
Right.
they'd love to do. All right,
Mhm.
so then you can possibly go out on that Saturday and give them a little treat, whether it's ice cream or worse, like a Starbucks.
Mhm.
And, you know, most everything is not good. They can have a hot dog, something processed.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, also has a lot of sugar, the ketchup. So
Mhm.
by the time the child is like in a half day, the children is so strung out. And here's what's happening now. The more a child stays home, and the mentality of most kids, tweens and teens, they're into gaming. They're
Right.
staring at the
Yeah.
screen. The screen is very dangerous
Mhm.
because it affects the eyes. It does put you in a state of somewhat of a trance, depending on how you're using the screen or gaming,
Right.
and it does trigger the brain. And
Mm-hmm.
so what happens is that if you have high sugar take, or if the child is, we'll just leave that to the side, not taking
Mm-hmm.
high sugar, but they're just doing a lot of screen time, because in a lot of states they're getting over homeschool,
Right.
but the computer between homeschool and gaming, which is huge with so many, you
Mm-hmm.
know, your child on a Saturday can be there from like 8 in the morning until like 8 or 9 at night and not even move.
Yep.
But the brain is changing. The
Uh,
brain changes from that. And so what happens is that the child starts to develop symptoms.
mm-hmm.
And there has been certain symptoms that has occurred through this pandemic that
Mm-hmm.
has absolutely freaked parents out. And I specialize in this. It is not the same, but it has similar symptoms. And what we call it is tics, TICS.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the child hold on to anxiety and not know how to process it. They start winking and blinking their eyes. They'll start grunting. They'll start becoming nervous and agitated more. They'll be a little bit more aggressive. Now, there is a correlation between tics and Tourette's syndrome. So
Okay.
you may be familiar with Tourette's
Yeah.
syndrome. That's something very severe, and it's very difficult to control. And
Mm-hmm.
usually what happens is that now tics most of the time can be more of an easier fix,
Mm-hmm.
but the parents don't understand it. And if you go to the wrong doctor, next thing you know, they're writing out a prescription, which is a beginning of a new lifestyle for your child. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where food, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Symptom.
Yeah, yeah. The symptom is not necessarily the core,
Mm-hmm.
but unfortunately, doctors don't learn nutrition when they
Right.
study. They really don't, and most therapists, they don't understand it at all. But it really is now what I say functional and integrative, which
Mm-hmm.
is what you eat and also the mind and body and how one affects the other. And it starts when we're young. I can even tell you it starts when you were in your mother's womb.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also where abuse starts, because believe it or not, and there's plenty of studies to prove this. When a child is in their womb growing up, and we're not getting political or if you're pro or
Yeah.
not, but when a child is in the womb, the child hears vibration and they hear tonality
Yeah.
outside of the mother's stomach. Even when the mother is like happy, there's a tone. When she's yelling and screaming, there's a tone, there's a different vibration. Mother who sings, a lot of times they say humming and singing, it's a
Mm-hmm.
pleasant and soothing feeling for the baby. So chances are when the baby comes out, you have higher potential of having a happier child. But
Right.
here's the thing. If you have two people that are together and they're not happy and there's always yelling and
Mm-hmm.
screaming, a child doesn't understand what the meaning of words are. But the
Right.
child learns by repetition
Mm-hmm.
when the child is in the stomach. It hears the vibration from even another person. And then when the child pops out and they're in this world, as the child starts to become a little bit more coherent, like, in the early stages, weeks, months of its life, they'll say, I remember that tone, that voice. That's that man who's talking to
Yeah.
me. That's a mommy. This is where it all starts. So it's like when you have a lot of yelling and screaming going on, there's vibration, and then it affects when the child is out and it starts to layer and layer and layer. And by the time
Mm-hmm.
the child is 4, it's a very critical point, because if you don't try to keep some type of calmness, or, teach the child, like start planting correct seeds. By the time the child is 8, the child to a strong degree is what the child is. And like a sponge, it's gravitated, soaked up
Right.
like a sponge. A lot of negativity, a lot of, trauma because of the drama. And then they start also picking up traits because they idolize the dominant figure that's in their life. And the primary caretaker, which would be equivalent to like a mother or maybe a nanny, or it could
Right.
even be the father if the father is the main person that's always around the child, is the one that the child looks up to. But there is like a very, very strong association to male figure. And
Yeah.
this is another thing which I'm totally off topic, but it is proven that girls, they gravitate towards primary, say mom, grandma, whoever, but
Mhm.
they gravitate towards knowledge and they get their sexual behavior through the male figure. So I don't
Okay.
want to
Why do you think that
misconstrue
is?
that with daddy, but it's like, why is that?
Why do you think that is?
I think because they're different. They look at mom and they see that, mom is female like I am, with
Hmm.
the traditional roles. And
Right.
then there's an idolization about daddy. And so when they grow up looking at boys that are their friends, and as they get older, boys as their friends, that's why they say they're looking for someone like daddy most of
Right.
the time. And
Same.
that's where the trouble could start if they don't have, a good father. If they don't have a father around, it's similar to what I was saying towards the very beginning of the conversation, is that they learn skills in other ways because it didn't come naturally to them. So they're
Right.
not so always clear what's good, what's bad, what's normal, what's not normal. So
Yeah.
there's like a crave of learning, and they want to be part of whatever. And that's where sometimes the girls are misguided. And then,
Right. That's
we
why
can
it's
get
good.
into other stuff.
Yeah. That's why it's good to have those conversations. Because, like, for me, being a single mom, my kids, that they're not around like men, for example, their fathers to be like an example for them, right? So it's me. So
Mhm.
I'm,
You're
my
the
daughter.
mom and the dad.
Thankfully, my kids ask a lot of questions. They're very vocal. They don't, which I'm very grateful for. And so they'll ask, like my daughter, she asks me anything, and I'll tell her. I'm very open with communication with my kids, and I'll tell her the truth. I tell her what's right, what's wrong, what you need to do, and for her to go on the right path or whatnot. So it's very
Mhm.
important to have those open conversations, and I always talk about that. You have to have those real conversations with your kids, especially with them being teenagers.
Yeah, especially girls. Especially,
Right.
I mean, I think that my generation was kind of on the cusp. Maybe one generation after, they started to realize that they don't have to wear skirts anymore, and they don't have to like be, the housewife. They have more choices and options if that's what they want. But it's still very difficult even today to be female and, work in that role, especially in America, because we don't always usually have a choice to go
Mhm.
out and work. We are expected to live a man's life,
Yep.
and it's still male dominant, but we don't have a choice. But we don't always have the men on our side being courteous or helping us along. And so, when you talk to younger generations, they don't get this because, they have guys that are their friends. They're
Mhm.
growing up in a totally different world. More and more as we're seeing, like, I don't know, even in the last couple of years, um, you've got to really watch what you say about whether it's, certain types of professions, certain type of
Mhm.
people. My 10 and 11-year-old are growing up with, like the LGBTQ and binary communities don't even know how to call each other because the definitions are becoming more and more. But my little kids are I teach them to be very, socially
Hmm.
socially accepting to everybody. But it's like there's still the confusion because in most homes today, they're still kind of like, okay, this is the boy and this is the girl, this is the mommy and this is the daddy. And especially if there's there's transitional people,
Right.
or there's people that have gone very extensively to modify themselves, and they
Mhm.
used to be a man and now they're a woman, and then they're changing body part. It's very confusing to the young kids, but they're actually learning more than their parents do.
They know more than us, 'cause, like my daughter, she's always looking, researching different stuff. Like she watches the news more than me, and I'm like, why do you, why are you interested in that? Like I don't know, I don't watch the news like that, but she'll watch everything, and then she'll ask questions about it. I'll be like, well, you gonna have to tell me, because you
Yeah,
don't want.
it gets a little confusing. Yeah, but we're in California, so it's like we are more socially acceptable, and we have people of just really so many different magnitudes. So it's in front of us, but it's just to the kids, it's a little confusing. To the parents, if they don't understand how to explain, it's difficult. But they're learning in school. My older son,
Mhm.
the I'm getting confused how old my kids are. The 12-year-old, he is 11, 12. How old is my son? This is what happens to the brain when you, the older one.
Yeah.
He goes to a middle school that
Mhm.
has a special program. It's like
Mhm.
a magnet program, and it's
Okay.
very well known. It's Millikan Middle School out in the San Fernando Valley.
Okay.
It's kind of like a test pilot, and they have um, you know a study program for kids that are LGBTQ and non-binary, and so there's a little bit of separation, but
Mhm.
then they're also used to seeing everybody in the school, so they learn about this naturally. And
Right.
so if there's any questions, then they'll ask questions. But unfortunately, a lot of these kids, they've been really just berated, and they've had people make fun of them and everything, so it's like a safe school for them. And so there's lack of tolerance for any kind of discrimination, but at this age they're starting to become aware. And then I think because they do go to school all together,
Mhm.
then it gives the children a different understanding. But it's not in all schools. But when you're living in an environment that we have so many different types of
Yeah.
people. But I don't know how we got on this subject, but um,
It's all good. It all matters though. It's all like very good value, very good tips that parents should take heed to, because it's very important, like as our kids are growing up and stuff. Like my daughter, she goes to perform in our school, so she has a wide range of different kids. They're all, I call it a high school musical, because
yeah,
her.
so that's my son does that too. They have performing arts, and then they have the special LGBT. I forgot what it's called. It will come to me and I will tell you. But they're
Yeah.
starting to open more and more, especially in California.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because it's a lot of different, like her school, they're homeschool right now. They're not open yet, but it's like high
Yeah,
school musical, like literally. So,
yeah.
where the first time I went there, I was like, this is literally like high school musicals, because they were playing music. They had a DJ. They had all these different programs. So I'm like, okay. So
I know. Is she doing okay being homeschooled?
yeah,
Is
she
she,
likes.
because you're going on a year? It's
Yeah,
a little over a year, like us.
she's an introvert, so she enjoys being at home. So it's and
Ah,
it's working for her. She's a straight A student, so
congratulations. That's great.
yes, thank you. Let's keep that up.
Yeah. See, mine were A's and B's, but now we've seen C's,
Yeah.
and we just saw some D's and almost an F. And see, that's the problem, because see, I work a lot and I get preoccupied even if I'm working in the house, because I have a
Mhm.
couple of offices. So I'll either go to the office, and then their father is back into the house, and he's using the my home office, but he's in there, And his company is like not even going to open because they're just so nervous that one of their employees may get it, and then there goes the company, right? So, the government and state is still trying to figure all this out, but um, they're having a hard time with it. But what makes them not have such a hard time is the fact that they have computers in their room. They share a room. I do it on purpose, but they sneak and they go to the computer and they play the Fortnite and all of that other stuff. And yeah, we had a big issue with not being honest and they're lying. And then of course, because they're so close, they help each other. They, they just like, no, he didn't do that. Mom, I'm telling you the truth. Really, he didn't do that. I know. I would tell you if he did. And of course, they're both lying, right? So,
Right.
I have good boys, but this is what's going on. And it's affected the grades. So basically, what just happened last week is they have all of their technology except for the little laptops that the school provide. And I'm like, once you're done with school, that's it with the technology. And I have multiple telephones. And so sometimes I would actually leave a phone with them. And I'm like, this is it. You've lost your privilege. And I told them, you're not going to see technology for like another year. And next week is my son's birthday. And I had arranged prior to get him a new monitor for gaming, specifically for gaming. And this is a big issue around the house because he's not getting it now.
When's his birthday? February?
It's February 16th.
That's my daughter's birthday.
Oh, really?
She'll be
Oh,
6.
great.
And my son, and he'll be 8 on the 15th. So they're a day apart, but they're 8 years apart. It's weird.
Oh, do you want to know something that's really interesting? My mother passed. My mother's birthday is on September 18th.
Oh, wow.
My son's birthday is on the 17th. I had to do cesarean, so I tried to hold it till the 18th, but we did 17th. And then my younger one is in February, and his is February 16th. So I have 16, 17, and in memory of my mother, the 18th. Yeah. So it's really exciting. But isn't that interesting how things happen that way?
Because the birthdays are weird in my family. My mom's is April 26th. My oldest brother is April 26th. I'm August 16th. Then my 2 oldest are February 15th, February 16th. Then the baby is August 26th.
Wow.
Oh my God.
There's some kind of message behind all of that. I'm not quite sure what, but it's like I don't think that happens by chance. There has to be, you say like a higher power that's making it work out that way.
For sure.
So before we did the podcast, I remember when we were talking a couple of months ago, I'm like, oh, so she's going to be sitting with her daughter and they're going to be cooking in the kitchen and I'm going to watch you guys cook and everything. And I'm going to have like a cooking lesson. And I think she's like really, really young.
No.
But I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, this is awesome. I love the value. I love the tips that you're giving. And it's information I've learned as well, and I like to learn every day. Everybody can learn something new for being a parent, being a mom, having kids, going through life in general, your mindset. So it's a very, very good value, and I love it.
Thank you.
Conversation. I always like to have a natural conversation. I don't like to have like basic setup questions already planned out.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have a conversation. One thing I want to know is like what motivates you to do everything you're doing, being a mom, being a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not the biggest believer or even understand all of this, but you'll have some listeners who get it. But I'm a Scorpio, good, bad, or ugly, right? So there's certain qualities of a Scorpio that seems to set true. I enjoy the apple and the orange, as I say. And I know sometimes they're not compatible, but I just am so interested in so many different things. And, I didn't come from a wealthy family,
Mhm.
but my mother was the same. And I'm very similar to my mom. And she gave us a lot of opportunity because we grew up, and there's a difference. We grew up watching her work really hard, but
Mhm.
she had to. She had to. She was not wealthy. Then she became wealthy. It was a roller coaster,
Mhm.
and that was part of, fortunately, of being a woman and achieving success. And then, you lose sometimes. And she was a businesswoman, and it's the same thing. She had her own companies and businesses. She worked with mostly men. I grew up, for the most part, working mostly in male dominant businesses, and I understand them so
Mhm.
much more than a lot of other women may. But I'm also a female, and so are we going to be on film with this, or it's just podcasts?
It's on YouTube as well.
Oh, okay. So I mean, people can see me, so I look younger than in my 50s. I'm packing a little extra right now because I've been sick and whatever. But um, I've always looked younger. I mean, when I was in my late 20s, I looked like I was like 16, 17 years old. It was really hard on me. You got the same thing going too, because when you look really young, unfortunately, people start trying to take advantage. So the intellect is there, but the baby face is what they see. And it's a struggle sometimes. But I've always been very interested in a lot of things. I've always communicated and have been able to understand how to do business with men, because unfortunately women didn't have always money.
Mhm.
Now women are into their own, and so I'm working more and more with women. I've always been involved with businesses that naturally have a lot of people involved. I worked with corporations. I worked with businesses where I was exposed to a lot of people. I
Mhm.
owned a couple of entertainment companies. And so one was actually a talent management company in Hollywood. It was very, very successful, very well known, but it dealt with a lot of people. And so I also in real estate investing, always more people. And so there are positions where, honestly, believe it or not, I'm a little shy. I was raised a little naive,
Mhm.
and to a degree, sheltered. But
Okay.
because I have to be an external person,
Mhm.
I just kind of fell into my own. And now that I'm older and I've learned many harsh lessons and I've been there and I've done that, now I don't let anybody diminish what I have accomplished or diminish what my goal is, because
Mhm.
I just won't have it. And so when I came to the realization that, okay, there are people, because they just didn't have the same need or ambition to, uh, I guess, be involved or do half of the things that I have done, and that's fine. I just basically just try to be a good person, keep good people now in my life. I don't like a lot of drama. Other people's stuff is not my stuff. But
Right.
if they're going through a hard time, my natural instinct is to help people.
Mhm.
And so if I can give someone a suggestion or help them with a piece to the puzzle, it's for them to just make it fit and then look at the pretty picture and move forward. But unfortunately, a lot of people can't do that. But
Right.
I've always been involved with just, very fast environments.
Mhm.
So it is a little bit out of my true nature, but in my personal life, I'm a little bit more old school.
Mhm.
I have a lot of strong morals. I believe in character. I appreciate the elderly,
Right.
and I give respect where it's due.
Mhm.
And I try to teach that to my boys. And one thing I totally try to teach them, especially if they're thinking of doing business, is
Mhm.
to respect women,
Right.
because It is so important. We know, we
Right.
know, the good and the bad. A lot of it doesn't have to be said. A lot of it has to be said all the time, but there's so many battles that we should not have had to deal with. And we
Right.
just can't seem to avoid it because it's in the mentality of a lot of men and some women.
Right.
But, you know, it's just choices of what I want to do. And I think that now my choices are different. We're all going through change right now. We're adapting. I have 3 office locations and I'm only basically using one. This is an office that I have in the
Hmm.
LA West Hollywood area, have one in Beverly Hills and also in an Encino area. If you're well, everyone knows Beverly Hills. I
Yeah.
can't stand going over to Beverly Hills and it's killing me. I want to let it go. The one in Encino, it has like a major water, a major pipe in the building busted on my floor. I haven't been able to use it in months. And it doesn't matter though, because most everybody is still working from home. And I'm talking to my clients on Zoom. A couple of
Right.
them I may meet, but the life is just so different.
Hmm.
And, you know, I know we probably don't have much time left, but if I can say something, because this is very important and this is coming from someone who may have a lot of interest, but is very used to rebuilding
Hmm.
and creating and opening up different businesses and so forth. Um, right now is the best time. You may think it's not a good time, but everybody has stepped back. More people have compassion. Most people have more compassion that is going to be settled into their soul. They're
Right.
not going to lose it because they've been stripped of something. They've lost their home, they're going to lose their home, or they've lost their business.
Hmm.
When people lose, they understand. They become more empathetic and it
Hmm.
becomes their nature. And then there's just really good people in general. There's some people who don't get it, but it's just people are willing to help others succeed.
Hmm.
And so it's not shameful for someone who wants to try a new venture
Right.
and ask for help. Or, well, I always say if you don't want to use the word ask for help, like use the word help, because can you assist me? Or can you explain? Just switch the words out. But right now, it doesn't matter, where you come from, what kind of economic level you have
Right.
come from or have always been in. It's free enterprise right now. Right now, more than ever. And this could be your last shot, to be honest with you, to take a step back out of the circle, relax, take a deep breath,
Hmm.
and just try to do it. I always say this because I believe it. It seems more logical, but it's definitely easier to jump in the pool
Hmm.
starting from the stairs in the shallow end if you don't know how to swim.
Right.
As you can gradually get where you want to be towards the deep. But you know what? If you don't know how to swim and you jump into that deep end, I guarantee you're going to swim.
Hmm.
And so you're challenging yourself to be the best you
Right.
and to deal with challenges. And what people don't understand is most people, if they're not working on the outside right now and they still are working,
Hmm.
they have learned so many skills they probably didn't realize they had in them.
Yep.
Those are
That's
entrepreneur skills.
that's true.
Right now, right now you have extra time. Your employer doesn't know really what you're doing. As long as you get the work done, you do it. So you can use this time to build what you want to be in
Hmm.
this life.
That's
And
true.
if you make a mistake, it's so calm still out there and it's so quiet that you have time to figure it out. When everybody's out there running around and the business are fully operational and there's more demands and everything, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to jump in and start something, because your mind and physically you're going to be more preoccupied if you have to go into an office. If you don't have a business, and I say this and I dare because it's the truth. I have a lot of clients who used to have a decent amount of money, and they don't really have that much money. And this is the reality. I know people that were on welfare most of their life, and they did whatever they did, and now they're getting, the is it PAU or PUA, the funds from
Oh,
California,
the
and
small SBA.
yeah, yeah, and it's more money that they've ever made in their life,
Mhm.
on a monthly basis, and I'm like, relax. Now, be smart. Okay, so you have to pay rent, right? So you pay your rent, you have a little bit of money for groceries that you may have had more, but try to, do something smart with it. It may not necessarily mean to put it in the bank, because you're not making any money to keep the money
Right.
in the bank, but in a logical way, you have to look at it like it's free money,
Yeah.
because it is. Use it to educate yourself. Go back to, everything is online. Go to online school, study something that you wanted to study. Um, I believe this will happen, but I can't guarantee it. But I believe that our current president is going to definitely eliminate a lot of student debt. I don't know if there's going to be a time frame of when you had to become a student, but take the risk.
Hmm.
Take a risk, because if you spend the money, maybe you'll end up getting it back. You won't have to pay, loans and so forth. People who
Right.
don't have economics can, it's very easy these days to qualify for a loan or start a business. Go
Hmm.
get a little, it doesn't have to be a Beverly Hills office, it doesn't have to be fancy schmancy, because people don't care anymore. They
Right.
really do not. If you want to, feel good and have an office and get away and start something, just take the risk, because there's so much help right now along the way. We have this thing in America. I don't know if you have people out of the country who are listening, but it's like we've learned we're all in this together.
Hmm.
I know we get tired of hearing it, but we really are. And
Yeah.
so, there's always someone who's willing to give you a little push or help you, and you will succeed. You will
True.
succeed. If it's
Very
not now, when is it going to be?
true. If not now, then never.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not even about money. There's so many things now that are achievable easier without money, because people understand without even saying, for example, it's you. If you had no money, we don't assume that you're poor and you have no money, but we just have a little bit more of natural compassion, and
Mhm.
we don't, like some of the business people that I work with, I'll say, let's go do lunch, and it's just normal to say we're going to go do lunch in Beverly Hills. We just kind of know that one person may be able to afford. Now it's like it doesn't matter. It's not
Right.
important. you know let's go meet, or we're not really meeting right now,
Right.
but in other parts of the United States, they're back to normalcy, or whatever, semi normalcy. These things that used to be important is not. I know so many people that are closing their offices, whether they're you can see a little bit back here. This is like a 1930s building. Each one of my offices are different. It's really an office suite, and if I turn it around, it's like I have the couch. It's a little messed up because I just actually changed, but whatever. Okay, nobody cares. But I'm in here by myself most of the time. I know that I'm going to have at least maybe say 4 months to 6 months where people aren't going to come into my office really and see me, and it doesn't matter. We're on Zoom. You can sit on the toilet and you can hold on to your laptop. Nobody knows. You put on the nice, blouse or shirt or whatever that you need to play the game. And you just do what you need to do, because this is what people are interested in.
Right.
I don't remember before this happened when I can honestly say that. Where you live, it's the same. Here, it's definitely hot, more because, Los Angeles, everybody's like into themselves and money and, Beverly Hills. But it's like, it's the best time to be your best self. Just, take a deep breath and just jump and do it.
Right.
Just do it. Just do it. If it doesn't work or it's a little bit too much, then you pull back a little bit and you backtrack and start moving forward a little bit more and more until you hit your goal.
Right. Exactly.
It sounds simple when I say it, but when you think about it, it's going to create nerves, right? But
yes, of course.
No. It's getting out of that comfort level, as we say, but it's like, it's not so difficult if you just try.
Exactly.
Just try.
True. That's amazing. I love the tips that you just gave, because that's very important. And so it's very important to get out of your bubble, get out of your comfort zone to be where you want to be in life or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for joining me on the show, for giving all the value about the business, about the motherhood, about everything. It was so much fun having you here. And
thank you.
I want to pull up this real quick for you guys that's watching, if you guys that's listening. Make sure you follow Jessica. Her Facebook page is Jessica Dawn Russell Page, which literally you search that on Facebook, search Jessica Dawn Russell Page on Facebook. And also her Instagram is at Jessica Dawn Russell, the number 2. And her email is the htcoffice@gmail.com. If you want to know more information, you can contact her through either source, the Facebook, Instagram, or email. If you want to know information, she has all the knowledge, as we know from watching. And appreciate all the value that you have given on my show. You made it very inspirational, very valuable, and I just want to thank you. And so
you're very welcome. If anybody sends me an email, we do have a newsletter, and it's kind of more coaching based. It gives tips, and we get into a lot of different subjects, and it's free. So I encourage people to just kind of send something in and request it, and we'll get it.
Awesome. Away. Yeah. So for the moms that's listening, I want to encourage you for hey, everybody, we have our careers and whatnot. I still have a full career. I'm active duty military. And so as an entrepreneur as well. So there's always something that you have a dream of, that you want to be an inspiration. Just do it. Cause that's pretty much what I did when I started. I got guidance. I asked the right questions, I asked the right people. Thankfully, I had people in my life who were already entrepreneurs, who had knowledge. And so, like she said, just do it. You never know. You don't want to live your life in what ifs, which is something I always say. You always want to be your best self and you live your best life. And of course, there's going to be bumps in the road, but hey, you got to get that through that struggle to get where you want to be in life. And that's just what it is. And so I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank everybody for listening. Make sure you guys, as I mentioned earlier today in the show, if you want the recipes, go to the website, and I'll post it in the link below and above. Depends on where you're watching. And so make sure
Can I say one little thing? I'm dying over this. Just to sneak it in. I'm sorry. I don't usually do that. To be a mom, and definitely to be a single mom, where we're now at 52% divorce in the United States. Whenever my parents divorced when I was really young, and I was raised by a mom who tried to be a businesswoman, and she was a businesswoman. But when somebody calls me, definitely if they're a single mom or I'm communicating, they have screaming kids in the background or whatever, it doesn't bother me because I get it. And I think especially women, these things make them nervous. They're like, am I going to be judged? Oh my God, my baby's crying in the background, or the child is tugging at them and stuff. I don't think most of us care. We've been there. We've done that. We get it. It's not about what's going on now, but it's just, you know what? Don't be shame. Don't have shame. Don't blame yourself. It is what it is. And most people don't care. We usually care about things more and keep
Mhm.
us from doing what we need to do or want to do
Right.
than what other people are thinking.
Mhm.
They let the moment just pass them, but it's us that's still like paranoid. Oh my God, are they going to not respect me because my kids are, just yelling and screaming and I got to really get off the phone. I can't
Right.
ask them, just take a deep breath, step
Mhm.
back. Jessica, please, would you mind if I called you in 30 minutes? Even if you're trying to do a deal. We get
Yeah.
it. We get it.
Yep. And I,
Okay.
like I always say, take a deep breath before you enter into situations with your teens as well. I've said that before. So you won't approach it the wrong way. But thank you again, Jessica, for that value, for that other tip. I hope y'all took some notes, y'all, because this was good. And
Oh,
if you got value out of this, which I know y'all did, make sure you like and share this, because there's always some other women out there who needs to have this message as well. And also, if you don't want to miss any more episodes, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to watch upcoming episodes and watch the ones before to get even more value from past episodes and future episodes. So I want to thank you again, Jessica. I cannot thank you enough for being here, sharing your value and everything. And so for you guys that's watching, for you guys that'll be watching later, make sure you tune in, same time, same place, virtual, of course, next Wednesday, 6 p.m. And I will see you then. Bye. Hold on. Let me get up out of here, y'all.